Greetings, Algo artisans. Cowboy here. Had to take just a couple of days off, had a lot going on, but we're right back into it today. And we're going to talk about Badmad robots and why this video game token could actually be a major hit, why it could do really well. We're going to jump into the charts right now. Okay, so here it is. Metal is the ticker, Badmad Robots is the name of the coin, and we're looking at the weekly chart, and this actually came out early this year, is when it actually hit the CoinEx exchange. And as it did, it was at half a penny, and it made its way all the way up to 13 cents. That's huge. That's at times 26. And it did so within the space of a little over a month, probably like a month and a half it did that. And that is simply amazing. It is the bull market, and times 20 is not completely unheard of, but either way, that is impressive, especially for a new coin. First of all, I'm just going to go over this chart briefly because we do not have a lot of information, right? We only have a few months worth of data, and I'm going to do first an overview, take a look at what price might do on a higher time frame, and then I'm going to go ahead and look a little bit closer. So let's start by looking at this major impulse. We're going to take the beginning of the price, move up, we're going to go to the end of that, that's the impulse, and we're going to attach a Fibonacci retracement to that. Usually price comes down to one of these fib levels. Touch the 786. Now, will it go up from here? That remains to be seen. And of course, a lot of this move down had to do with the general crypto market deflating and taking the altcoins down with it. Not to say there's anything wrong with the coin, and the fact that it pulled back like this is actually pretty natural, especially after such a massive rise. And it is at a times 10 from its bottom here at the CoinEx exchange back in early February, so it's still doing great. Now, might the price go up from here? It's very possible. The price pulled back to the 786, which is right here, and if I extend that line out, you can see it touched it and it started to head up. Does it mean it's going to head up from here? It could. It's very possible. I'm going to take a brief look at the algos on a lower time frame, but before we do that, I'm going to take a look at some higher targets for people who are just simply trading this coin. So if I'm going to use a Fibonacci extension, then the targets up here are going to be about 17 cents and maybe 21.5 cents. Okay, they're a little bit higher than that, but I would front run those. I wouldn't buy it right at those numbers because everybody else is going to do that. I would front run that. Okay, so what would that trade look like? If in fact my algos told me I could go ahead and go long on this, this would be quite a trade. It would be big risk to reward, which is what you want. So if I were to just go long right now, you're looking at like a 6-to-1 maybe or better. Depends on how you set your stop loss. But if I just kind of let this be the stop loss, if I didn't do any calculation, because usually I don't do that on the shows. I don't like to share how I do that. I do share how I do a lot more in detail over at algofactory.tech. So if you want to learn how I use these tools on here, then please come to algofactory.tech. I'll show you what I'm doing over there. And if you watch enough of these videos, you can pick it up as well. However, this would be at least a 5-to-1 and probably a 6-to-1. And that is to that top target. Now I might take some profit before that. I might take a little profit right at that all-time high, 13.5 cents, and then maybe a few more pieces off. But all in all, I think this would be, if I were to take profit at all those spots, probably a 4.5 to 1. And that's a beautiful trade. Absolutely gorgeous. And many people think that Bitcoin is ready to start hitting back up, if not now then soon. And if that were the case, then we could expect these altcoins to actually start to head up as well. So this is a feasible trade, but we're going to look a little bit deeper into the algorithms by looking at a lower time frame right now. Okay, so this is essentially the daily time frame. It's really the 18-hour because that's just for my particular algos, the 18-hour works better. Price is right now up against a bit of a resistance. However, if it manages to stay above that low, if price comes back down and then starts to head back up anywhere above this 3 cents, so if price starts to rally back up and not go below 3 cents for any amount of time, it might wick below really quickly, but if it can basically stay above 3 cents for more than a few days, or if it doesn't go below for more than a day, then price has a decent chance of rallying back up and going into this trade that I designed. Now, bear in mind, this is going to be widely dependent on whether Bitcoin wants to head up, and we are going to take a look at Bitcoin after we take a look at what's going on with this robot, this Badmad robot coin, which is, metal. Everybody's calling it metal. The game is Badmad robot. So first of all, let's go ahead and talk about the game itself, right? Badmad robot is a, it says it right here on their website. It's an intense and fun team-based and free-to-play multiplayer shooter. Fight hard to survive on streets overrun by broken violent robots robots in a brutal post-human society. So basically free to play, there are team objectives, and it's actually got a fair amount of strategy. So where does the cryptocurrency come in? Why is it important? Well, it's because your robots are customizable, weapon-wise, skin-wise, and a lot of the in-game type awards, like the little boxes and things that you get, I believe you can actually trade those using the currency in the game. So you can buy currency, you could buy these at exchanges, and then you can go ahead and use that currency inside the game to purchase these items. And this is not an entirely new concept, but this particular company seems to have all the right backing. So before we get into who's behind this company, let's go ahead and back up and take a look at CoinGecko here. We'll just look at the tokenomics really quick. Okay, so the total supply is 2.75 million. Circulating supply is about a quarter of that. So we can see if we can find a little bit more information as far as these coins and why they're not out there. As far as the market cap, it's $34 million. 24-hour trading volume right now is relatively low as some cryptos go. It's about $350,000. So if my math is right, that's about 1,000th of the market cap, so which is very interesting. That's not a lot of coins being traded. It's a pretty thinly traded coin as of now. However, a lot of attention is actually starting to hit this coin, so we might be able to see an increase in price happen pretty quickly. It's possible. Like we talked about, you saw the chart. There was a long move down, and now it appears that price might be starting to catch its floor. And if that's the case, we could be excited about it. Okay, well, let's head over to the Twitter here, and we can see here some interesting stuff here. And this is key. Who actually is behind this, right? It says, this is reposted by the 1inch community, and it says, hey, 1inch fam, did you know that gaming is reshaping DeFi? With free-to-play multiplayer shooters like at Badmad Robots from creators of Call of Duty and Diablo 2 and others. Okay, that's huge. These are very, very large games, and there are others. There's Elden Ring, Tekken 8, Dark Souls, Vigor, Aliens, Dying Light 2, Illuvium, Ghostbusters, Call of Duty, Black Ops Cold War. The creators of this game actually have a pretty good resume, and if you take a look at the actual gameplay, and I went ahead and showed a little bit of that at the beginning of the video, and I'll play a little bit more right now just so you can get a feel for the quality of this game, and then we'll move on. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at Immutable, who is actually behind the game. The game was built on Immutable. It's a leading platform for building Web3 games on Ethereum, powering the next generation of Web3 games. And again, this is where this game was built, so we're really seeing the super interesting kind of formation of how this is going. Now, you can actually go onto Immutable and build. That's what's really cool about it. It has, you could say, democratization, if you will. And here's the Immutable website. So just to get a feel for, who is, you could say the term hosting, if you will, but let's just say where the game is being built. You see Illuvium, Gods Unchained, Embersword, Blocklord. So definitely some quality games being built right on here. So back to the chart here, that does seem like it's a great way to go as far as this trade. Now, again, Bitcoin needs to head up for me to be excited in this trade. You're talking about a 2.7 billion coin supply, right? Now, only a quarter of those are in circulation. So if those were all eventually let out into the ecosystem, in order for this coin to make it to $1, which is, I think, very possible, we'd have to tap into just a certain percent of the gaming industry, right? Well, let's see how big that amount is. Let's see how much money is in the gaming industry. According to various sources and projections, the video game market's revenue is projected to reach $385 billion in 2023. That's your revenue. There are other estimates, but they're all in the hundreds of billions, right? So when you take a look at the tokenomics, you're looking at a total supply of 2.7 billion. The entire industry is hundreds of billions, and that doesn't count the value of NFTs. That doesn't count the separate value that this actually can bring to the game. This is merely just the gaming industry itself and the kind of money that gets spent. This coin reached 13 cents. It's at 4 cents right now, but in the excitement of the bull market, it reached 13 cents, and that is before a lot of things were implemented. For this to go to $1 is very realistic, and right now, to go to $4, just the fact that it went to 13 cents, just as a function of the bull market, and the idea that this token might possibly be used in other games, we don't know. I mean, this thing could really blow up big, and a times 10 I think is relatively possible, even if it just comes from bull market hype. That's how I see this going. Now, doesn't mean it's going to happen. None of this is investment advice, but GameFi is probably going to be massive. It's a very popular subject, and I mean, this going to $1 is extremely realistic just for bull market forces, but you could add that to the possibility of being implemented, and then of course the value of NFTs that are created, so on and so forth. This could really actually go pretty high. So a times 10, very reasonable. Again, not not investment advice. Now, we just were continuing to talk about how we need to know if Bitcoin is going to be ready to pop back up and let the market, the bull market, resume. Let's take a look at that. Now, if you watch this morning's show, you're going to see a trade that I had on there that still looks pretty good. But go ahead and watch that. You'll see the trading plan that I had for Bitcoin. In the meantime, Bitcoin is more or less consolidating near its all-time high. Now, this is a pretty broad consolidation, right? This range that is creating is basically from about 60,000 to 73,000, really. So price could easily bounce back and forth in between those areas before it goes up. Now, we did take a look yesterday, and we actually spent a fair amount of time on yesterday's morning show talking about prior bull markets and prior halvings and how price behaves. And there are not a lot of data points, so what is going to happen after the halving is a little bit up in the air, but 2 out of 3 data points, they indicate the price might be level or even kind of go sideways for the next several weeks, maybe the next month or 2. So it wouldn't surprise me to see price continue to range in the same range or even drop a little bit below at some point. What I'm talking about is merely based on past data. Doesn't have to go this way. And remember, we have an entirely new landscape to Bitcoin where we have very large players buying the coin. And if you notice, price really does react off of this 60 and even below 60. There's a very strong reaction. It may well be that very large players become interested as price hits that $60,000 mark. In fact, I know one large player that is very interested in actually buying at that time and selling at the tops here, trying to take profit on these quick little moves up and then buying the bottoms until that is no longer a possibility, until price goes up past the all-time high and resumes upward, as many people assume that it's going to do, which I think is pretty realistic given the landscape and given what Bitcoin does after the halvings, right? So right now, what we could see is rather price not break below 60 and merely bounce in this range for a number of weeks. And that number of weeks could actually be shortened because of where Bitcoin is in the world right now, because you have these institutional investors buying it. There was an article about a month and a half, I think, back talking about how Grayscale, if it sold everything at the current, if it sold all of its Bitcoin holdings at the current rate, they'd run out of Bitcoin to sell in a matter of 16 weeks. And I think that was about 8 weeks ago. And what was going on there is that people were buying the Grayscale ETF trust. And when Bitcoin was low, they were able to get in at a discount. And when Bitcoin is high, they can sell at a premium, which means that the profits are better to sell Grayscale and then use that to buy Bitcoin. So people were actually selling their Grayscale, then Grayscale was selling their holding because Grayscale has to sell their Bitcoin to redeem their clients' money. And as that's going on, other companies like BlackRock and all the rest of the larger companies that are getting into ETFs are actually purchasing a lot of that Bitcoin that Grayscale is selling, and definitely in the aggregate. What I read in that article, and I wish I still had it, but they were saying that Grayscale is selling a little bit more quickly than those other companies could buy it up, but that if they continued at that rate, they only had a few months to be able to do that. So that supply shock, really, I think we felt it already just by seeing this all-time high happen prior to the halving. I think we felt some of that supply shock, some of that panic buying, but I think now that the halving is over and now that the mining companies are going to kind of reposition and figure out how to, continue to profit with half the amount of rewards, I think once all that kind of evens out, we'll see price continue to go up. And if that's the case, anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks seems realistic to me, maybe a little bit longer. And if we're looking at Badmad Robot, it might take that many weeks of it going sideways before it goes up. However, what is also very common with Bitcoin is as it ranges and doesn't go down, the alt market actually gets more confident. So there is that possibility that even if Bitcoin were to go sideways and not go up, money might flow into the alts. So with Badmad Robot, we might actually see coins like that start to go up before we expect them to. So I think at the current price at 4 cents, that is not bad buy. If I really were interested in that coin, I might swipe up a bag right now and just hold it through the bull market. But again, not investment advice. Okay. So I think that's all that we have time for today. And I just wanted to talk about Bitcoin and how that might affect Badmad Robot's price and how I might be interested in either trading it or just picking up and holding it through the bull. I do hope that this video was helpful. We do have some nice words from one of our clients here. I'm going to go ahead and put this testimonial in right now.
This is ThinkFree's Algo Factory Testimonial. I began my prescription for Algo Factory the summer of 2023. I am now 70 years old and I have set a goal to have a supplementary income by learning to trade. I have been putting in about 3 to 4 hours per week of study time. In spite of this small time of commitment, I am determined to learn to trade. I set a goal of slow, steady progress in my learning. It is now March of 2024, and I have been delighted that through the articulate speech and hands-on help and support from Cowboy, I have developed an algo that looks very promising. I've come to appreciate Cowboy's remarkable ability to communicate and teach. He's not just knowledgeable, but also very creative in his shoot-from-the-hips approach. I wonder, is that where the name Cowboy came from? I have followed the Algo Cowboy and V the Guerrilla Economist for more than 3 years and have found them to be very respectful, caring, and firmly rooted in reality. By that I mean they have a clear, deep, no-nonsense understanding of the world we live in, not just in trading and economics, but geopolitically and, dare I say, spiritually as well. For me, this fact makes working with them all the more gratifying and secure. This has and continues to be a great investment of my time and money. Also ends up being fun with the humor that is shared amongst our Algo Factory group members. Thank you, Cowboy.
Okay, thanks for listening to that. And we hope, again, that this was helpful. Please come over to algofactory.tech. We teach people how to build trading algorithms so that they may be able to extract money from the market on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, however they choose to design their algo. Don't forget, trade your job, upgrade your life. We'll see you on the next one.